Hello everyone and welcome to Cinderful Gaming. In today's video we're going to take a look at and review the rules for the Skaven Warpspark Clawpack Spearhead in Warhammer Age of Sigmar. Today's video is sponsored by Gap Games, a fantastic miniature wargaming store in Queensland, Australia. They stock a wide variety of miniature wargames from all things Games Workshop to some of my personal favourites, Conquest of the Last Argument of Kings, and all things Modifius wargames as well. Use our affiliate code in the link below to help support both this fantastic store and the channel as well. Our formation is led by our General, the Grey Seer. Units wise, it has 3 Storm Fiends, 1 Warp Lightning Cannon, and 2 units of 10 Clan Rats. For our battle trait, we have the ability Always 3 Claw Steps Ahead. This is a once per phase ability we can use during the enemy's movement phase. To declare it, we pick a friendly unit that is not in combat, and the effect of this is that unit can use a normal move ability as if it were our own movement phase. Really solid, able to throw off our opponent's plans after they move near one of our units trying to charge, bring a screen in front of one of our more protected units, get a character out of harm's way, make our opponent have to make options, sort of push up off an objective to stop our opponent getting on it. There's just so many different things that this ability can cause problems for your opponent with. Regiment ability wise, we have 2 of them to choose from, like always. The first is Warpstone Laced Armor, and this is a once per battle reaction, and this can only be used after your opponent declared an attack ability and targeted your Storm Fiend unit. Obviously it's used by your Storm Fiends, and the effect is it'll give your Storm Fiends a ward of 4+ to this phase. Considering the Storm Fiends are probably going to be doing the vast majority of heavy lifting for your force, this could be a really solid option. Endless Swarm of Rats is the other option, and a passive ability. What this does is when a friendly Clan Rat unit uses a Seething Swarms ability, you can return D6 slain model state unit instead of D3. Another good one to really just give you some options. I think both of these are solid. The Endless Swarm of Rats really does help with keeping the units that are going to be claiming the objectives for you on the table for longer and getting more bodies out there. But then your Warpstone Laced Armor protects the unit that really is going to be doing all the heavy lifting for you. I think really it comes down to how you prefer to play. If you're more conservative with your Storm Fiends, then maybe Endless Swarm of Rats is the way. If you like being more aggressive with the Storm Fiends, then I'd go with Warpstone Laced Armor. Enhancements, we have 4 of them again, and your General will get 1 of them. Now, General in this is the Grey Seer to remember, and we'll look at him in just a second. But first we have Skilled Manipulator. This is a passive ability, and the effect grants your General a ward of 4+ while within 3 inch of any friendly Clan Rat units. Skitter Leap is your hero phase ability used, and it's declared you can make a 2d6 casting roll. The effect of this is on a 6+, you can simply teleport your General around the battlefield, though you're not able to use any move abilities later during the turn. Cage of Warp Lightning is another once per battle ability, and this can be used during any combat phase. To declare, you pick a visible enemy unit within 6 inches of your General and roll a dice. The effect of this is on a 2+, the enemy unit has strikes last, but on a 1 you inflict a mortal damage to your Grey Seer. Scurry Away can be used during any combat phase, and the effect of this is roll a dice. On a 3+, the unit can immediately use the retreat ability as if it were your movement phase, and if it does, no mortal damage is inflicted upon it. Now, there's definitely a couple that I'm not a fan of. I think Cage of Warp Lightning is just too risky. If your General is in combat and you're relying on a 2+ roll to see them, probably not the best. I'd actually prefer Scurry Away with that being the case, being able to jump out of combat, because your Grey Seer is not actually going to do any damage in combat. Skitter Leap is pretty good, gives you a good teleport spell to get him out of harm's way. But I think Skilled Manipulator is probably the best protection. Just having a flat 4+ ward where you're near your Clan Rats, which are going to be staying on the table longer, is probably the way to go. Leading this force is the Grey Seer. Now, this model has a health of 5, move 6, a 6+ save, and a control score of 2. In combat, it attacks with its Warpstone Staff for 3 attacks. It falls to hit and wound with Ren 1, damage D3. Ability wise, it has Will of the Horned Rat. This can be used during your hero phase, and declare it, you pick a friendly unit wholly within 13 to be the target, then roll a dice. On a 3+, you add the roll to the target's control score until the start of your next turn. Pretty solid, just adding some extra control score, and you know, if you have picked the skilled manipulator as your enhancement, you're going to be near your clan rats anyway, so giving them extra control is probably the way I'd be going. Wither is another cool ability that just allows you to do some extra mortal damage, allowing him to contribute to the damage output of the force. Keywords wise, he has hero, wizard and infantry. Next are our Storm Fiends. These models are pretty solid with 6 health each, a move 6, 4+ save and control score of 2. Now the unit is armed in an interesting way. One of the Storm Fiends is armed with shock gauntlets, one is armed with wind launchers and clubbing blows, and the other one is armed with rattling cannons and clubbing blows as well. The rattling cannons put out an insane amount of shooting with 3d6 shots at a 15-inch range, 4s to hit, 3s to wound, Ren 1, damage 1. The wind launchers, however, are, less attacks, with still 3 attacks at a 15-inch range, 4s to hit, 3s to wound, but Ren 2 and damage D3. Melee weapons wise, both of the weapons have 4 attacks, hit on 4s, wound on 2s, and do 2 damage, but the shock gauntlets do have Rend 1. Ability wise, the shock gauntlets have a special ability here. Passive ability that each time an attack made with a shock gauntlet scores a critical hit, so rolls a 6, the attack will score d6 hits instead of 1, and you need to make a wound roll for each hit and then a save roll for each wound that goes through as well. This is a pretty solid unit all round. Generally, I think the amount of shooting they can put out, you're probably better off being more conservative with them. But if you do want to get into combat, they still pack out, pretty similar damage to something like rat ogres or other sort of heavy infantry. They do have the keyword infantry as well. They're a solid, just good all-round unit that's going to do work for you and really be the ones that sort of win or lose you battles with this Spearhead. Next is the Warp Lightning Cannon. Now, this piece of artillery has 8 health, a 3-inch move, 4+ save and control score of 2. It's got a really interesting ranged weapon that we'll talk about in just a second, but we'll talk about the melee weapon first. D6 attacks, 4+ to hit, 5+ to wound, no rend, damage 1. Now, as I said, we have an ability here called Warp Lightning Blast, and this sort of works off our base range profile, which is 20-inch range, 2d6 attacks and a 4+ to hit. But when we have this passive ability, and the effect of this is each time a unit with this has a attack made, you have to target the same enemy unit with all your attacks. However, each hit will just simply inflict 1 mortal damage and the attack sequence ends. There's no need to roll a wound, there's no rend, no other damage. It's just dealing some mortal damage out, which is pretty cool. So, there's a maximum of 12 mortal damage potentially coming out of this. If you roll 2 or d6 and got a 12 and then hit with everything. Lastly, we have our Clan Rats. 1 health each, 6-inch move, 5+ save and control score of 1. In melee, they have their rusty blades for 2 attacks each, 4s to hit, 5s to wound, no rend and damage 1. Seething Swarm is their ability where at the end of any turn they can return D3 models to the unit, though we can increase this obviously to D6 with some of our enhancements, which is really nice. And of course we can also boost their control score as well with the Grey Seer near them, who they will also in turn grant a 4+ ward save if we've gone with particular enhancements once again. Keywords, they've got infantry and reinforcements as well, meaning they will come back from the dead, just keeping that tide of rats on the table for you. But we hope this video was helpful in giving you some ideas and our thoughts on Warhammer Age of Sigmar Spearhead, and that you were able to get some inspiration to start your own force in the game with it. If you have any other questions at all, please comment down below, and while you're there, also don't forget to drop a like, subscribe, and join our Discord server to check out all our future Warhammer Age of Sigmar content.